good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Azam Khan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. The MTR launches a multi-billion-dollar upgrade, but service hours may be cut. A woman has admitted killing her newborn infant and will be sentenced early next month. And time is running out for 5 men trapped in a tiny submersible deep in the Atlantic Ocean. The MTR will pour in $65 billion to maintain and upgrade its railway network in a bid to salvage public confidence amid a spate of blunders. But it warned that service hours may be cut short to facilitate repairs. Raymond Young reports.
The MTR's reputation as a safe and reliable mode of public transport was called into question last year when 2 serious accidents shook public confidence. The railway operator responded by commissioning experts to review its maintenance regime. Nearly 7 months have passed, and the team concluded in the report that while MTR services are reliable, it must do more to meet growing public expectations. The MTR today announced 15 areas of improvement. It will set aside $65 billion in the coming 5 years on maintenance and renewal, a 20% rise from the previous cycle. Another $1 billion will go to innovation and technology upgrades. But to conduct necessary work, the so-called non-traffic hour maintenance window, which typically lasts 2 hours every night, may have to be extended. The company will consult the government before cutting short service hours. The report also called on staff to do more on risk anticipation and adopt the concept of reliability-centered maintenance.
It helped to see the area that we have to put effort into it to optimize not just the work scope itself, but also to focus on those defects that will bring high consequence or bring impact to the traffic.
Transport Services Director Jenny Yuan added the company is doing its best to address a manpower shortage. The MTR's vacancy rate stood at 11% last year, compared to just 6% in 2017. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
A 42-year-old woman has admitted killing her newborn baby girl by throwing her off a footbridge in Shamseng last year. She will be sentenced in 2 weeks. Chloe Wong has the story.
Yuan pleaded guilty to infanticide when she appeared in the High Court today. The court heard that the 42-year-old secretary alerted police herself after dropping her 16-day-old baby from a footbridge near Phase 3 of Seacrest Villa in Shamseng in the early morning of March 4th last year. The infant was rushed to hospital where she declared dead. An autopsy found that the baby had brain damage, scapular fracture, and blood stasis. A day before the incident, Yuan told her husband that she had suicidal thoughts. Her husband advised her to relax and not to think too much. Yuan told police that the baby kept crying on that fateful day, and she was afraid it would wake up her husband. She left her home with her daughter and went up to the footbridge. She said she apologized to the infant before throwing her off the bridge. Yuan said she was exhausted from taking care of the newborn who was underweight at birth. She was anxious and feared that the child wouldn't grow up. Psychiatric reports said Yuan had yet to recover from giving birth and might be affected by breastfeeding. In mitigation, the defense described the case as a tragedy and said Yuan had already been punished. Judge Esther To, who is awaiting a probation report, adjourned sentencing to July 5th. Yuan did not apply for bail and was remanded in custody. Chloe Wong, HKIBC.
Police recorded 1,400 phishing cases in the first 3 months of this year, despite requiring SIM card users to register their names. An expert warns that it's almost impossible to avoid all deception cases. Janice Lowe reports.
People who use SIM cards have to register with their real name. But the measure, which started in February, has not halted scammers. During the first quarter of this year, police recorded about 1,400 phishing cases. Most fraudsters claimed to be telecom providers and issued SMS messages. Through a modem pool, users can insert hundreds of SIM cards into the machine to send text messages in bulk. In a legislative council meeting today, Edward Leung suggested that public awareness of scams can be raised by adopting a tactic used in Dongguan across the border.
When a deception case happened at a particular location, the law enforcement agency put up a poster telling people that there was a deception case here and the financial loss was this and that.
Leung said as a result, deception cases there slumped by over 50%. Security Undersecretary Michael Chirk said the tactic is worth considering. Lawmaker Duncan Chiu said different forms of deception could be common.
The cost is relatively low, and in terms of cost benefit for frauds and scam cases, it has become globally a trend that criminals will carry out scams through the phones and internet-related services.
An expert says it's almost impossible to stop telephone and SMS fraud.
The scammer actually can use fake ID information to get a SIM card, or they're actually using some kind of apps or machine to generate a fake caller ID. It's like an antivirus software. You can block everything.
Fong estimates that at best, only 80% of scammers can be blocked. By the end of this year, only registered users will be allowed to issue text messages in the name of banks. Other organizations might be included later. Janice Low, HKIBC.
A new Sino-US row has erupted after American President Joe Biden described his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, as a dictator. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning said Biden's remarks were extremely absurd and irresponsible. She accused him of a blatant political provocation and expressed China's dissatisfaction. Shanghai academic Wu Qinbo said Biden's big mouth is a loose cannon. The U.S. leader claimed Xi was not informed that a Chinese balloon was in American airspace until it was shot down. Biden said dictators are embarrassed when they are caught off guard. His comments came just days after Xi and the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, agreed to stabilize relations. 5 people on board a submersible, which went missing in the Atlantic Ocean, will likely run out of oxygen tomorrow. There is some hope, however, as rescuers have detected banging sounds, which could help them narrow the search area. Raymond Young reports.
Time is running out for rescuers who are trying to locate the Titan, a tiny submersible with 5 people on board, which went missing during a deep-sea journey to the wreck site of the Titanic in the North Atlantic. The oxygen supply inside the vessel will likely be exhausted on Thursday morning local time. The odds are not with the 5 passengers either, as the search operation covers a vast area, while the water column is kilometers steep.
You don't have a rope guiding you to the exact location, so you can drift away. So if Titan has drifted away from Titanic and to whatever fate they may have encountered, they can be very, very far away from the Titanic. The optimistic scenario, and I would like to believe in that one, is that Titan suffered from a power loss. The final possibility is that Titan has been entangled into the wreck of the Titanic, and she is stuck.
But a glimmer of hope has now emerged. The US Coast Guard confirmed that underwater noises were detected by acoustic sensors deployed by their Canadian counterparts. CNN quoted internal memos as saying that banging sounds were heard at 30-minute intervals, and underwater robots have been sent to the area to try and locate the origin of the noise. But even if they succeed in locating the Titan, experts warn it could be a long process to bring the submersible back to the surface. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
U.S. President Joe Biden's son is expected to plead guilty to charges relating to tax crimes and gun possession to avoid jail time under a plea agreement. Republicans said the treatment accorded to Hunter Biden showed that the U.S. justice system is hypocritical.
After a 5-year investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice, Hunter Biden is expected to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor charges, one on tax crimes and another admitting to illegally possessing a gun while a drug user. This would stop President Joe Biden's 53-year-old son from going to prison for as long as 10 years. Biden's rivals, including House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, slammed the plea deal as a case of double standard. They pointed to the criminal charges against Donald Trump, who currently leads all Republican hopefuls in the race to the White House.
If you are the president's leading political opponent, the DOJ tries to literally put you in jail and give you prison time. If you are the president's son, you get a sweetheart deal.
The Delaware Attorney General, who signed the plea agreement, was appointed by Trump himself. At a Silicon Valley tech meeting, President Biden was asked about the development.
I'm very proud of my son.
Hunter Biden is expected to undergo drug treatment as part of the deal and still needs an official sign-off by the judge in the case. It is unclear when he will appear in court to enter his guilty plea.
The Hong Kong stock market's biggest sell-off in a month has cast a shadow over Dragon Boat festivities for local investors. The Hang Seng Index dropped 2%, mainly because of disappointment over mainland interest rate cuts, which analysts consider to be too low. Techs led the decline, with Alibaba retreating 4.1% and Baidu losing 1.7%. Worries that consumers will tighten their purse strings saw sportswear firms Li Ning and Anta slumping 5.4% each. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 388 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tencent was down $9.60, Meituan down $4.70. BYD was up $1.60, and AIA Insurance down $1.10. Forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.54, the Canadian dollar at 5.92. And over in the UK markets, the London FTSE is currently down 18 points. China's currency has fallen to its lowest level against the US dollar in almost 7 months. The offshore yuan weakened past 7.2 to the greenback before recovering slightly. The onshore unit closed at nearly the same level on the last day of trading before the 2-day Dragon Boat Festival holiday. A depreciating yuan would make China's exports cheaper and increase demand. On to the weather now. Dragon Boat rowers can expect a sweltering day tomorrow with just a few showers to help them keep cool. Temperatures will range between 28 and 32 degrees, remaining hot on Friday ahead of a wet weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Azam Khan. Good night.